So, as I'm recording this on Monday, the 28th of July, it looks like Mikey Moore is set to leave Tottenham on a loan. Um, in a video which I've pre-recorded, just about a bit of an update ahead of the Hong Kong tour, which will probably, I don't know if this might be out after or before, but Mikey Moore, by all accounts, looks set to sign for Rangers on loan. Um, I think that's a really, really good move from Moore and from Spurs and for Rangers. I think Moore definitely. I think with Champions League coming up this year, admittedly, is one less club trained player. I suppose I don't know if he is fully. Well, I suppose he won't be yet because he's not 18, but he'll be. He would have been struggling for minutes, I'd think. Um, in the Champions League, especially. Maybe you might probably see him more in the Cups than the Premier League, but to go to Rangers at a club where he's going to be afforded the same sort of time on the ball that he would at Spurs, probably a bit more actually. Um, I think that's a really smart loan for all involved, um, and I think he's the sort of player which he'll really thrive in that sort of environment. We've seen him making his debut. I think he might have been 16 at the end of Angier's season. Didn't tear up any trees particularly, but it was good for a 16-year-old. Um, who- and yeah, I just feel like with Rangers, they are part of the big two in Scotland. My Scottish football knowledge isn't that great, so I won't confess to knowing a lot more about the Scottish League other than the sort of stereotypes about it being a two-team league. Although Aberdeen they've been slowly progressing up, keeping a bit of a side eye, only because of Alfie Dorrington there, who he'll come up against this season, and I think that'll be interesting. Um, but in terms of Europe, I think this week Rangers are playing Panathinaikos in the Champions League qualifier, so you think that's probably a bit too soon for Moore and someone at his age. You imagine they probably won't rush him in straight away, but I think the Elfspor game last year where he scored one of my favourite ever Tottenham games. I've never come away. Well, I have come away from games feeling more proud, but that was definitely up there. Not in terms of like achievement, but just general pride in the team. And when Dane Scarlett scored, you could see Moore was thinking, right, I want my goal. And then Damola Ajayi come on and scored. And then it was almost like Mikey Moore was like, I am not leaving this pitch until I score, which he did. You got to give him credit. He obviously suffered a bit with I don't know if it's illness or injury, but he was out for quite a while for the first half of the season. Um, but yeah, obviously with Moore going out on loan, that means that on the left wing position, it's sort of between Odeberto and Son, but obviously there's reports that Son is going to be or may be open to leaving after the preseason tour. A lot of talk about him going to the MLS, and it does leave me a little bit concerned if we don't address that left wing position and Moore and Son are to go. I know Richarlison can deputise out there, but it's a bit of a square peg in a round hole. Um, Although he did do well towards the end of the season on the left hand side, I'll give him credit. But to lose the output of Son and then to be left with just Tell and Odegaard to cover that left side, Tell really could make that position his own. I think Odegaard could, but Odegaard missed quite a few games from injury last year. I've seen some people saying about Kudus going out on the left, but why? He's someone that I was just reading through some sort of like old West Ham opinions, so just doing a little history jump on Twitter about Kudus just to see what the general sense was last season, and I think him being pushed that left hand side really did contribute to him not having a great season. And I think he's a player which, when he shined, really was more off that right hand side or behind the striker. So I think to spend the money that we did on him and essentially really, really go balls to the wall for him to get him out of West Ham. I just feel like it would be a bit silly just to not play him in his natural position. If at time of recording he is our big summer signing, why would you not put him? Why would you not play him in that position? But back to Moore. Quite interesting actually. The website transfermarkt.com. If Moore does complete this move to Rangers on loan, they've got him ranked as the highest valued player in the Scottish League already at 17, which is pretty crazy. I think the transfer market value that Transfermarkt had was around 18 million euros, and I think it was Maeda from Celtic who was second. But I really like it for Moore because the move, because Rangers and Celtic, that is that sort of, a lot of players will go out on loan and they might maybe, it'd be more about getting experience and that sort of thing, which ultimately the loan is part of. But I feel like if you go into a Celtic or a Rangers or one of the big teams in a league, whether that be Championship or whatever, Scottish League, whatever, especially at Celtic and Rangers, second is not an option. I know Rangers, they've won one league title to stop Celtic doing, was it 9 or 10 in a row? But ultimately, for every year that they don't win the league, it's seen as a failure. Unless there's, I don't know, maybe like if they were to win a European Cup, that would change things. But I don't want to speak on behalf of Rangers fans. But for him to be sort of put into that environment at a young age where he is going to be one of the players which especially would attract a lot of eyes from Tottenham fans, no least. But I think even maybe some people who've just generally worked in the academy sort of game and are quite excited about Moore's potential in his future, I think he could have a really good season. Obviously, this is an optimistic look. He could go there, not play much games, and be back in January. But let's just see how it plays out. I think he really, really could become an interesting player to watch. Of the players that are going out on loan, obviously Dane Scarlett and Alfie Devine also didn't travel to over to Hong Kong and South Korea because they were apparently seeking loan moves, which makes sense. There's nothing wrong with that, but I feel like I'll be keeping an eye on Rangers more than I ever have, really, because I've got no real dog in the fight in terms of Scottish football. But when it's getting to, I don't know, like Sunday lunchtime and there's an early Scottish kickoff game, maybe instead of just being in the background as some sort of background noise, if it's Rangers, I'll actively be looking for Mikey Moore on the wing. And I think as well, I think they've just appointed Russell Martin, which I think is quite a good appointment for them, for that league. Again, talking off limited knowledge here, so I'm not going to act like I'm an expert by all means, but I think Martin's got a good record with young players. I think if you look at Southampton last year, stylistically, a little bit similar to Moore. I think Moore's a bit more direct. I think Diblin's maybe a bit more of a creator. Come from the right side other than Moore come from the left side, obviously. But yeah, I think Martin really, really could really teach Moore some really important, not only tactical but just mentality wise. He's really good with player development, so I think it's a lot of joined up thinking, which you don't really associate with Spurs and their transfers outgoing. Not going to get into that now because we'd be here all night. But yeah, Mikey Moore going on loan, and bowler camps, I think that's a good deal. So that's the latest transfer news coming out of Tottenham. Hopefully there'll be some more action that we can report, some new signings and things like that. But until then, let's wait and see what happens at the Spurs.